Hello everyone and welcome back to this week's video. So Silksong dropped and like promised, I'm gonna do a Silksong doll. So if you don't know the game, it is the sequel to my all-time favorite game, Hollow Knight. This time though, you play as Hornet. Basically the bigger sister that's way faster, way louder, and way cooler. Which resulted in me watching 44.3 hours of Skarrsigner's playthrough just because I cannot finish the first game. Anyway, all of that just to choose a character I wanted to do. And that will be Skarrsigner Karmelita. For that, I'll be using this Dracula doll. For this project, I had a lot of back and forth with how I wanted to make her, and it started with the doll base. Of course, not as much as if I would have played that damn thing. Anyway, after removing everything from everywhere, we can do the hair. So I'm sorry if this video is a little bit all over the place, but I struggled over here. Karmelita is a queen of the Skarr and their most talented warrior. And my vision of her was really this elegant, youthful fighter. We do see her older self in-game, so I could have gone there, but I really loved her youthful design. And of course, one way to achieve that is to bring this bright red to the table. The hair are supposed to represent this part of her design, the way they moved in-game, and the fact that ants don't have two pairs of antennas. I just had to style it in two simple pigtails. We'll come back to her hair at the very end, but I'll put her aside to continue with her shoes. Karmelita has these really skinny legs, which immediately think of leather high heel shoes. Of course, with how well I make shoes, I had to go dig in my stash. Best thing I found were these Dracula shoes with a lot of heart on them. Not exactly what I had in mind, but close. Of course, I still had to do a little bit of touch-ups, but after a coat of paint, it resembled my idea way more. Now, going up from there, under that skirt, there is her thighs. I really do not know how this ant is dressed up and how much is clothes and how much is skin, but when I saw this, my brain immediately went to clown shorts. One of the reasons I chose that Dracula was because I knew for sure this would look good on her. I just had to add a little stretchy fabric at the bottom so it looked a little bit more seamless going into the shoes. Still going up from there, we're now ready for the skirt. Dress? Skirt? I'm still again really not sure what it is supposed to be. I knew this was gonna be a real headache to find a way to do this part. I think we can all agree that it looks like a flower shape, but whatever it is, that I'll do it as a skirt and not even bother on how to do the top part and how it will connect. So to make my vision come to life, I did a skeleton in arm wire, so I hopefully knew where I was going from there. First idea was to put this very lightweight fabric on top, but the only idea I had to make this fabric keep its shape was to dunk the whole thing in Mod Podge. But like you guessed, this made it so much heavy and not light anymore, so I had to think about something else. Next idea had me to do some papier-mâché on top of the armature, and did the papier-mâché off camera. The armature was still a little bit too flimsy, so I made a base with my old air drying clay and sealed the shape into place. Cause this thing is a mess to do and I don't want to bother with my camera. But you can still see that at the end of it, the shape was pretty good. So we can start with the second idea. So idea number 2 was pretty straightforward. I thought that spray glue could act like epoxy, but that didn't work, so yeah, that was a waste of a $20 right there. I hope I can find a way to use this spray in the future. So at this point, my last resort was to just use the base and smooth it to be able to use it for the skirt. After that, I just cut a few flower shapes in this fabric and just sew it all in place. This will still give me the flowiness I want with as good of a shape as it can be. Now that she has that big skirt, her stand doesn't fit anymore, so I just need to cut it so I can put her aside. So again, going up, we can start on the top. So again, I really want that poofy sleeve and that black glove feeling. For that, I'm just gonna make her a normal top with a beautiful poofy sleeve attached to it. All of that in the same color as her pants, just to make it match. But this time, instead of putting the stretchy red fabric at the end of the poof, I just went with black. Okay, so we're finally starting on the sculpting details. Again, I'm using epoxy sculpt and I'm starting with her chest plate. This was pretty straightforward, and of course my original design had the chest plate in the skirt, so it would look more seamless. But the skirt was a little bit crooked and it showed, so I thought it would look better if I just cover it. Okay, so at this point, I don't think we can go upper than her face, but we can finally start to work on her head a little. So remember when I talk about those pigtails? Well, we still need those antennas. It wouldn't be an ant without antennas. Of course, doing this looks way easier than it is to do. I think they look like dragon horns, but unlike Verosica's horn, they are secure and won't break on me like 6 times in the past year, so I'm good with them. Next with the epoxy is her curved sickle. That's what Google says it is, and I really don't know how to pronounce that, so I'm sorry if I said it wrong. The plan was to make a template and just cut around it, but by the time I was done, the paper just stuck to it. So I just redid the exact same step, but just off camera. But this mistake gave me the smoothest edge I could have ever hoped for. So a yay for me, because I didn't have to sand everything super perfect since we won't see both sides. After that, I can just slap some silver paint on it and it looks metallic. I can now stick back her head into its socket as I don't need to access the inside anymore. Now, around the same time that her weapon dried, everything else also did. So, getting the paint out again, I bought this custom color for this chest plate and the antennas to make sure it was as close as it could be, but also close to the hair. In the original design, she really just has like 3 colors, so even though I have a little bit more, I didn't want to put that much more. I then had to paint her hands black to imitate the glove feeling I was talking about. And after a couple of coats of a shiny varnish on everything, I can start on her face. So I got my soft pastel out and digged into that red. I knew I wanted her eyes to pop a little bit more, so I put a little bit more pigment on her eyelids, also the lips and her ears. Had the same treatment just to make it more cute. Now for the eyes. I really do feel like she has her eyes closed, which would make sense since a lot of ants are a little bit like fat. As like them, they do not have a good sight, but they do see with their antennas. So I found it really cool and had to incorporate it in. The best a fighter here, and she doesn't even see. She's straight up tough from Avatar: The Last Airbender. Come on. And now, last touch. I can just cut her hair to a more manageable length, and with that, we are done and we can go to the final shot.